We are going to have two speakers today. The first one I'm going to introduce now. It's Contract Vault, a startup that tries to disrupt the legal space. I'm not looking at any of the lawyers down here, but yes, many of you already know this is something interesting in the legal space, that there is going to be lots of disruption happening. I'm not just saying smart contracts as something disruptive, but let's hear from them. Afterwards, we're going to have somebody from a browser, so I'm going to say something about it later. Right, so let me introduce to you Peritza and Gordon.
Thank you, Andre. And as Andre mentioned, we are one of the new sponsors of this blockchain as Meetup. We're very happy to be so, and grateful. We think it's a great thing to try to be able to help the community and the blockchain community, and community is one thing that I will be talking about afterwards in the slide. Just quick, who are we? With Contract Vault, my name is Gordon Mickle. That's Peritza Grosharovic. We are the two founders of Contract Vault. And just quick before I get started, because as Andre already set the stage with disruption here and stuff, so how many people here are lawyers? Okay, so I shouldn't get into too much trouble, I hope. That doesn't. No, I'm not sure that counts, but we'll get into it. So, and how many would describe themselves as blockchain heads, like techies, and other people? I assume business interested people. Okay, all right, cool. Right, so today's talk, it's basically a bird's eye view of Contract Vault. Who are we? What we're doing? What are we trying to achieve? Now, it's not going to be a technical deep dive. I do hope to be able to do one of them in maybe December or January, when we have a demo show we can show you. But with that, let's just get started. So, challenge. I've added a couple of points here. What challenges exist? And I'm going to talk about contracts now. Right, so, first challenge, contracts are hard. Now, you might already all be thinking smart contracts. No, I mean normal contracts. So contracts and normal legal pros are hard. Why are they hard? Well, two different viewpoints. So first, for us consumers, let's say the people who aren't lawyers, okay? So we don't have a legal background. Maybe I want to create a simple contract. I want to sell you a car. And I want, maybe I don't trust you 100%. I do trust you, but maybe I don't trust you 100%. So I want it in writing. So how do I do that? Okay, well, what would be the typical process? I'll go online. Maybe I'll find some car sale template or car sale agreement. We'd fill it out, enter our stuff, sign it, and then that would be that. Now, of course, that approach does have some problems. So there are some problems with that approach. Like, if I'm not a lawyer, how do I know that the contract that I just downloaded is current? How do I know that it's legally enforceable? It could be for a different jurisdiction. Maybe I downloaded something for German law or UK law. So that's one problem. And that's just simple contracts. What about complicated contracts? Now, another problem with that, you said before, if the trust isn't there, how do I know you're not just going to rip up that contract? And this is I'm trying to think of the English word, but the contract, you signed it, I signed it, you rip it up, I say you signed it. You say I didn't sign it. It's word, it's word against word. It's not notarized, it's not witnessed. So that's also a problem, which of course could be solved with the technology we have now. Now, let's take the viewpoint of the lawyers. So here's where I'm going to get into trouble now. So contracts are also hard for lawyers, but in a different way. So if you imagine a lawyer, he's making contracts, or he's writing contracts, creating contracts every day. Maybe he's creating the same kind of contract over a span of his career. I don't know how many times. How many times would you say, or you? Let's say some a typical contract, any numbers, 1,000 times, 100 times, I don't know. So maybe you're only changing a couple of parameters in the contract. Maybe you're just adding one simple clause, like let's take an NDA clause. So it's the same contract, but different contractual parties, but we need an NDA clause. So let's say that's probably not the most efficient way of doing things. And of course, there are already solutions out there for these kind of things, like libraries and lots of legal tech software. But we think we have a better way. Now, second challenge. Smart contracts are also hard. Now we know this. It's more from the technical aspect. So smart contracts are great. It's a revolution. We can do great things with them, but they're hard. Again, different viewpoints. From a technical standpoint, even if we're programmers, they're not super easy to get right. We can get them wrong. We see the biggest companies around the world getting them wrong every day. Hacks, security, things like this. If you are not a programmer, it's even worse. Let's say you're a business. Let's say I'm a typical insurance company. I want to build a new application that's backed by smart contracts. How do I approach this? I have to educate my employees. Do I pay another company to do it? That's not super cheap. Again, because the knowledge isn't there and it won't be there for a while. And from the viewpoint of the lawyers, I envision a world wherein I think the official numbers were in 25% of all businesses will adopt smart contracts by 2022. One of these typical numbers. So, okay, maybe. Right, so I also envision a world where consumers will go to lawyers and say, yes, I need a contract for situation X, Y, Z, but I want it as a smart contract. And the lawyer's going to be like, okay, so how do we do that? Right, so that's another challenge. Access to legal services is hard. Now, of course, it's not hard in the traditional sense. You walk out your door and you can go to a lawyer. But let's say it's not optimized in the way we're used to in the age of digitalization. You can't just go online and click a couple of buttons and then get connected to a suitable lawyer for your problem in a suitable jurisdiction. That's another thing we're trying to solve. And the challenge, again, the whole legal sector is in transition at the moment. That's what we've heard over and over again from lawyers. There are lots of situations, the ones I've already spoke about, obviously with the digitalization and the smart contracts, but also we're hearing a lot of people that don't want to go the traditional lawyer route. They don't want to go the traditional, junior associate partner route. They want to become some kind of legal engineer. They want to have the freedoms of home office that we computer scientists often have. But it's not that easy because it's still a very traditional sector. A friend of mine, he told me that legal tech is like fintech 10 years ago, basically. If that's true, I don't know. So, what is our vision? And this is just one picture for our vision, so our vision is basically, and it says it in very large letters on the banner, it says truly smart contracts for everyone. And it says smart contracts there, but that isn't just smart contracts in the sense of smart contracts, but this is also smart normal contracts, let's call it. So anytime I say contracts from now on, I'm talking about conventional contracts and smart contracts, just so I don't have to say conventional contracts and smart contracts every time. Now, this is a centre part of our vision, and this is a so-called Ricardian contract. Right? So it's a dual-linked Ricardian contract, to be precise. This isn't anything new. We didn't invent this. I actually thought I'd invented this. This is a funny story. So, I was literally having a shower, and I was writing our white paper, and we had this whole thing okay, we've got these conventional contracts, we've got these smart contracts. How can we combine the two? And then I'm in the shower, and I'm like, whoa, I can save the hash here and do this, and then, it's brilliant. And then literally, last week, I sat down and then I started finding all these academic papers. It's the same thing. Someone did this in 2004. Okay. At least I have references for my white paper now, so that's the positive thing. So what is a dual-linked Ricardian contract? So basically what you do is you take user input and parameters. So these can be like a price of a car, or they can be, the contractual parties. What we have is a contract type template. Now the technical format of that doesn't really matter at this time. But the key is, at the end of this process, you generate multiple documents, multiple smart contracts, multiple legal documents that are linked to each other. So in the legal, you deploy a smart contract that has a storage space for a hash, right? Then you get the address of that smart contract, you write that into the legal document. That legal document is then signed, etc. You hash that, and then you store that hash back into the smart contract. So you have a dual linkage between the two. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's great because it makes the smart contract legally enforceable, because it's also a legal contract. It also makes the smart contract human readable in our solution, not automatically, of course, but it gives you just matching conditions, because smart contract is, as many other people have said, it's not a very good name, because they're not smart contracts. or they're not contracts at all. They just execute code, right? They really don't have much to do with contracts. They're literally the executor of contractual clauses. So our vision is to build a platform that lets anyone, doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, a consumer, a business, doesn't matter if if you want to sell your car or enter into a loan agreement or make a 1,000-page contract or launch your own ICO or a fintech application backed by smart contracts. That's our vision. You can do all of it on one platform. And we want to democratize this, or make it decentralized in a way that you go onto a marketplace, you select, you have direct access to lawyers, you have direct access to blockchain experts, and I'll go into all of that later. So I want to go through each of those points. Let's go into the contract creation just quickly. So this is our vision for contract creation. So, as I said before, powerful. What does powerful mean here? It's really not powerful, it's more like extensible. So, we have a system. I'll start with the visual contract builder, actually. It makes more sense. So, we have a system where you can visually create contract. And not just visually create contracts through drag and drop, but we're working on a code to contract mechanism using natural language processing. So you can visualize your contracts, you can create contracts easily without either legal knowledge or technical knowledge. Don't worry, I'm not saying you don't need legal or technical knowledge, but that will come afterwards. So that's the first thing. And these contracts are powerful because not only can you do, as I said before, the easy contract, like the car sales agreement, but you can also do massively complicated ICOs, smart contracts. That's just one example, I shouldn't keep saying it. There's other examples, obviously. Let's say you want to, it's quite the opposite of, one thing that annoys me, and I'll be honest, is all these, I go to a couple of conferences and I see all these one-offs. Like, company X has built this tiny application for one real estate company in London to sell, that handles maybe deposits of flats in London. And that's all it does. And he does that, 30 million ICO. For example, it's not a true example, but something like that. What we're doing is the opposite. We're not building a one-off. We're building a platform that allows you to build those things on our platform in a way that other people can use them, modify them, customify them. So, accessible. You don't need anything for our platform. You just go on there, you go in your web browser, you go on your mobile phone, go on there, create the contract. Accessible also means, though, again, no legal knowledge or technical knowledge required. Now, when I tell people about my idea, the first reaction is usually, well, that sounds cool, and then the second thing is like they start to get the feeling like maybe I'm trying to bypass them or trying to get rid of blockchain experts and lawyers. That's not the case at all. What we're building is a marketplace or an ecosystem, and it really is a meeting place for consumers, enterprises, law firms, notaries, and businesses. So we envision a decentralized marketplace with these smart contract templates on it. Remember, a smart contract template doesn't mean it has to be a smart contract at the end of the day. So if you are a lawyer or a legal professional, you can create your own content and you can put it there. You can modify content and upload a new version of it. And people can use it and you will be paid for that. The same goes for service providers such as, let's say, blockchain experts. They can upload smart contract templates for an example, which then can be used by everyone. It doesn't have to be everyone. We can also limit it. We can say, okay, this is a contract that is only valid in Switzerland for a certain area or a certain jurisdiction, for example, but let's just say everyone to make it easier. And that's not the only thing, because law firms, of course, and service providers offer more than just contract. We're talking advice, we're talking contracts that you cannot just do online, that need notarization, that need witnessing, that have a certain form that has to be upheld, and we're offering that as well, in that if you attempt to create a contract, or if you have the wish to have direct contact to blockchain experts or to lawyers, you can do that directly through our platform. They'll have all your, if you opt in, they'll have your information. They can see what you're trying to do and they can help you, and then you can take that offline or however you want to do it. And the same goes for all the service providers. The solution as a whole is pretty comprehensive. So we're not trying to be this super centralized platform that just, okay, everyone now must use Contract Vault for contract. That's probably not going to happen. You know, there are privacy laws in the legal area as well. You have laws that would prohibit that as well. So we are offering white label instances and white label solutions, both for law firms and also for businesses. And they mean two different things. So for law firms, relatively simple. You can use our platform. Let's say you pay a monthly fee or whatever, and you can just offer it to your own customers. Completely branded as your solution, only has your contracts on there, etc. For businesses, the white label means more as it's this enterprise-ready kind of thing. Like, it makes it extremely easy to launch new applications, be it fintech or insurtech applications, on our platform, but they're white labeled, so the customers don't say, "Oh, this is contract application." Enterprise-ready. Now, there's a couple of points to this. So the first thing is really simple integration. So everything we do has an API, both incoming and outgoing. So enterprises it's quite simple for them, and we're already working on 3 use cases with businesses where they're building solutions that are backed by smart contracts on the Contract Vault platform, and that's been quite easy for them to do. And another thing is, what we're also adding is this thought of, how shall I put it, value-added services to these contracts. So if you have a platform and people are, let's go back to the car example. I sold you my car. So maybe an insurance company now wants to sell you an insurance for that car. That's also possible. We're offering that. Targeted advertising, again, obviously opt-in. You can say no if you don't want this, but it gives us a nice way to integrate these companies into the whole flow of things as well. And another thing, and probably the last thing in this enterprise ready box, is that we're also offering this as a bundle. Like say you have a car sale platform. They sell cars. So why not offer your customers the option to, when they sell their car over the platform, to also create the contract automatically? They can do that as well. So they're bundling the Contract Vault into their existing process and adding value to their own solution. That's pretty much for the whole how are we solving it. I want to talk about more generally administratively who is Contract Vault. I've already mentioned myself and Peter, 2 founders. At the moment we're 2 founders and 5 team members. I think 3 of which in Switzerland, 2 of which? Yes. 3 of which, yeah. And around the world, and we have 5 advisors. And partnerships is something that is extremely important to us because we can't do all this on our own. Obviously, the whole idea is extremely dependent on content creation. I can't create 3,000 contracts in any any short time. So we're working with prominent law firms and also prominent blockchain expert firms to hopefully create a network of people on our platform that will create content, that will push this, and will try to build a community. We're also working with Avira, and we're working with Lex Verenda in the artificial intelligence space. That's all to do with the contract creation from code. There you go. So on that note of community, let's say who we become does depend on you at the end of the day, and I'd like to thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Still a couple of minutes for questions.
Sure.
Come on, I'm sure that's all.
The first lawyer question.
There already exist like projects from different cantons with the commercial register setting up a blockchain kind of how do you say connection in order to make the incorporation of companies
Sure.
more easy. So how does your project adapt to this one? Because there are always like APIs, and everybody says, yeah, it's going to work, even if you come from a different sector, work together with another partner.
Sure. I think federal is always hard, right? So it's hard to say there. Well, okay, so Switzerland and every single canton is going to use our solution in future. They are using technology by startups. Obviously, they're not using ours yet, but it's a hard question. I think. Do I think everyone will use our solution? No. Do I think we can push adoption of smart contracts and contracts into the blockchain? Yes, I definitely do, and I think that's needed. I think one of the main factors at the moment is everyone I talk to, and I consult for a lot of businesses and in a technical capacity, and everyone I talk to is like, oh, smart contracts, so cool, we're going to do loads of stuff with it, but no one's doing it. Or very few people are actually doing it. They're making prototypes, they're having courses, they're talking about it, they're going to conferences, but no one's doing it. So how do we get from here now today to that magical 25% adoption? We need, and the good thing is about our solution, it's not private in a sense that we're using a private blockchain. I didn't mention that because I didn't want to go into any technical details today, but it's on the Ethereum blockchain. It's decentralized. The contract templates will be on the blockchain. The actual contracts will be on the blockchain or a decentralized storage. So it's completely portable. It doesn't depend on us existing. Let's say, if we were around for 2 years and there's 1,000 contracts and then we're not around, you could still use them. So I hope that answers your question, certainly.
I have 2 questions. Maybe the answer is the same for both questions. So maybe if you're lucky on that. So the first one is, without naming any specific, I've seen quite a few things going in a very similar direction that you guys are doing. Some coming much more from technology, others coming from law firms, so at least ex-lawyers that are changing their lifestyle. And the question is like, what would be your advantage or your unique angle? Now the second question, which is maybe the same answer, is like, what is your incentive model? Why, if I am writing a contract, why would I write for you as opposed to one of those others?
Yeah,
like in terms of, I don't know, revenue or whatever it is.
Okay, it's not the same answer, so I'll do the first one. It's always a good question to answer because I want to answer that question. So there are some competitors in the space. For example, there's one in Canada, there's one in Russia that wasn't too successful, but so I think a couple of main differentiators. First, we're not trying to jump to 2022 immediately. These companies are only talking about smart contracts, a lot of them. As you said, there's some coming from the legal side, and there are some very big open source movements that come from the whole Ricardian side, academic side, that maybe, so in my humble opinion, they're all missing the point. So you have these technical companies, they're completely ignoring the entire legal world that already exists. They're like, oh, we're going to do all this cool stuff in smart contracts, and everyone else is like, okay, but who's going to use it? It's cool, but it's not usable today. So we're trying to make a platform that's usable today and that gets us from today to 2022. So that's the first thing. And then you have these other, let's say the more academic approaches, which are great, but they seem to be missing the market a bit, as academic approaches tend to do sometimes. So they're making all these cool, writing lots of cool papers and stuff about how you could build these Ricardian contracts, but no one's building it. So that's, or a couple are, but not very good. So that's the first thing. But the more important one, the more important differentiator is the community. Like the competitors I know, they're trying to own the market space in a way that they don't want to work with lawyers. They might be lawyers. They don't want to work with other lawyers. They don't want partnerships. They don't want to work with other blockchain experts. They're basically coming and saying, we have this solution. You will buy only from us. It's not decentralized. It's completely centralized. You will buy only from us, and we're going to create everything. First of all, it's pretty unrealistic that you're going to create everything yourself. Like, how would you even have the legal knowledge to create contracts for the whole world? That's, just from a jurisdictional point of view, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It has to be a combination of partnerships and crowdsourced content. So it's very unlikely that we will have 100 law firms in China creating contracts for us, but it's a lot more likely that we could crowdsource those contracts from Chinese legal engineers, for example. So I think that's the main differentiator. It's like community. The second question, if I can still remember it. No, I can remember it. So,
which is why would those legal engineers from China work with you? That's the same question. What's the incentive for them?
money. No, in the specifically to the Chinese legal engineers.
But like money on.
No, but why would you use our platform and not another platform? Or why wouldn't you just download a contract like normal? Like we will have experts that are gatekeepers. We will offer legally audited, technically audited contracts. If you use a contract on our platform, and it will also be the community is a gatekeeper themselves, like contracts on the marketplace. And you can go onto our website and check this all out, because I'm sure I wrote it much better than I said it. Mm-hmm. So people can rate contracts, people can discuss contracts, they can modify them. So in any community, after a while, you will see the higher quality contracts rise up. And we will also be guaranteeing, not in a legal sense, but we will be trying our best. I have to be careful there. I already saw my partner was like, no, don't guarantee stuff. No. We'll also be doing our best, our utmost best, to make sure that these are legally sound and technically sound contracts. And they will be cheaper. For example, if you buy a contract there, because we can cut out the middleman to a certain extent, and it is decentralized. Yeah.
Is your platform offering the contract items and the both parties evaluating the items, and at the end the
yes.
Last contract will be realized by both parties?
It's a collaborative process,
okay.
Yes. Yes.
I don't see at which stage you are currently right now on the internet.
That's very true. All right, so I really didn't want to go into the whole, fun.
Not to be too technical, but...
Yeah.
No, that's fine. No, it's great. So we're in the MVP stage. We've shown our MVP and we've sat down with partners. They've seen it. Our new partners have seen it, and we're building use cases around it. We expect to have an open beta in December. And I'm not going to go further than that, because let's see how the beta goes. But
and the source code will be available when?
The source code will not be available.
Okay.
No, not for the platform itself.
Oh.
But so it's going to be
it will be on the public blockchain, so it will be visible, the smart contract.
Well, there's two different things. It's like the content the templates you're using, the content you produce, but there's the platform that's doing all the visual contract building, the code to contract, compiling it.
Okay.
And
that's centralized. But
that
what's
is centralized. Exactly.
Okay.
Because you want the stuff that comes out to be freely available and freely handleable. Yeah.
Last question.
Peter.
Hey, so first, great. I think that's the template-based idea is very nice. It's worked in many other domains, like in network configuration. So I'm sure it's gonna
Thanks.
work pretty well here. So one question is how you would bring trust into the templates, because you still have to trust that it does whatever the description says
Sure.
it is. And then the second question is because once I take a template, I can instantiate it into many different concrete contracts.
Yes.
So how would you address the security issue of making sure that all possible instantiations would be secure, and would come with some security guarantees?
Sure. Okay. No guarantees. Yeah. Okay. So the first question, it's a very good question. So if you sorry, go over the first question again.
So
I think about the second question.
How would you bring trust into the templates?
Oh, the trust in templates. Okay, so all right. So there's the utopic view and there's the realistic view. The utopia is a completely decentralized marketplace, and maybe we can get there, right? More realistic at the start is we will have to play gatekeeper in some way. Like, let's say, okay, we need one law firm or lawyer per country that does do some quality assurance and also technically audit, not the lawyer, but an expert who can technically audit, who can be global, of course. I think that's more realistic at the start. Hopefully the marketplace will grow and will self-regulate and be totally decentralized. Second question, I think that's probably a bit too much technical detail, maybe, for right now.
Okay.
But it's definitely something we can look at here.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.